Hey there, how you going? It's Yvonne here from Women's Fitness Adventures. If you don't know me, some of you do, because you show up every week. I am the founder and CEO of Women's Fitness Adventures. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about Gloria. So Gloria, Gloria, the song from YouTube, but nothing related to the song at all. It is about something that happened to me and to Gloria on the weekend. And it really goes to the heart of what we do, the heart of the whole foundation for which Women's Fitness Adventures was built on. And it is all about that never leave anyone behind, never leave anyone alone. We're all in this together. So I'm going to share that story of my weekend in Sydney. So if you're watching live, please let me know. I'd love to see your name there. I know that some of you have reached out and said you do watch every week, but don't want to share your name, and I totally get that. But thanks to those of you who do tune in. And if you do have any questions, please just type away and ask the questions as we go. So hello, Lynn. Hello, Sharon. Lovely to have you here. So on the weekend, it was and this can be a long story if I want it to be, it was the Sydney Running Festival, the Sydney Marathon. Became a world major for the first time. What that means is there's 7 marathons now around the world that are considered world majors. And it's a big deal to get 7 stars, and it takes people a long, long time. So it is the first time in the Southern Hemisphere that this marathon has been added to. Um, First time a marathon in the Southern Hemisphere has been added to the world majors. So it was a big deal, and there were lots of people from everywhere. So my goal back after I ran Berlin in September last year was to run Sydney, but injuries got in the way this year. And I do, as I tell everyone to do, is to pay attention to your body, listen to your body, take the action that's needed so that you can heal. Because our events, our things that happen to us, we need to recover and heal from them because we want to make sure that we can go forward into the rest of our lives with wellness. So I had ummed and ahed throughout the year, do I keep my entry into the Sydney Marathon, thinking there isn't, at what point do I say, Yvonne, you need to just not kid yourself that you can do this. But I gave myself plenty of opportunities, and I hung on to the thought that this could be a possibility till I knew that I had run out of training time. Um, and training time whereby I knew that I would be able to do it, but at what consequence to do it. So anyway, I hedged my bets and enrolled in the 10-kilometer as well, and was lucky enough to get a place in that. And so I was able to work slowly through my feet injuries this year, and it only happened when I was in my running shoes. It wasn't anything to do with hiking, so rest assured there. And competed in the 10-kilometer. So the whole story goes to the very heart of why I set up Women's Fitness Adventures, why every member inside our community behaves the way that they do, with kindness and caring and compassion, is that I entered into the 10K. Now, we can offer, and anyone who knows me knows that the competition is only with yourself, how you can become a better person within yourself. It's not whether you beat someone else or not. So I decided that I would run in the 10-kilometer. And when I made that decision, it was you had to complete it within an hour 40. That was the cutoff time. And at that point, I can hike, and I can walk 5-6 kilometers an hour, but there was no way I was going to do 10 kilometers in an hour 40 to make the cutoff time without running or going, Olympic walking. So well, nothing like Olympic walking, but that speed. So I decided no, I could walk run. I'd been training up to walking running, and then I knew that I could do 10K. So I put myself in the race, and I said to myself all through the last couple of months of training, what I needed to do was stay connected to the people that were in the place where I wanted to be. And it's the same with our hikers. And I know when we get injured from things that may have nothing to do with hiking, that we can kind of shy away from it all and hide from that part of our world because we feel that we're not connected to that part of the world because we can't do it. And the point of that bit is that we need to stay connected to the things that we want to be part of, because someone said last week, you're the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with. If you want to be hiking and you're not hanging around hikers, then you're just going to drift further and further away. Just because you can't hike and just because I couldn't run at the time didn't mean I didn't go and I didn't do walking when I could. It didn't mean I stayed away from the social things. It didn't mean that I couldn't do some of the other fitness things related to running either. So for those of you who think, oh, okay, I have a bit of an injury or I have a bit of a setback and I can't do hiking, try and think of it that you don't want to disconnect. If you want to get back to hiking, you don't want to disconnect yourself from the people that you ultimately want to be around with, because our injuries come and our illnesses come and go and they will pass. But if we keep slipping further and further away from the groups that we want to be connected to, then it will be harder and harder to get back. They're the type of people that will lift you up and inspire you and encourage you if they're the right type of people that you want to be around. So let me just check in with who else has popped in. So hello, Sandra. Hello, Leonie, Fiona, Alison, Louise, Janelle. We've got a big group tonight. Denise, Marie, Christine, and hello, Karen from Sydney as well. So that's the first part of the story. So when I enrolled in the 10K, I said to myself, okay, well, I'll do it inside the cutoff time. I don't have to do a great race. It doesn't matter. What matters is I'm staying on the horse, so to speak. I'm in the field. I'm not. I don't have to break any land speed records. This is only just about my participation in the run. And I made peace with that. And sometimes we think, if I can't do what I used to do, then we tend to go, well, I'm not doing it all. And it's that all or nothing thinking, which doesn't really help us. It really cuts our nose off to spite our face. How many sayings did I use in that sentence? So anyway, I had some marathon envy on Saturday night when all of my friends, we went out to dinner in Sydney, were there. It's like, oh, well, when the going gets tough, dig in and run for me. And on Sunday morning when I woke up, all of that envy was absolutely gone. It's like, I am so glad I do not have to run 42 kilometers. So anyway, I lined up for my run. I had put myself in a slower group than my husband and my daughter because I knew I was coming back from injury. So I was standing in the waiting bay, for about an hour and a half in the freezing cold but beautiful day in Sydney. And I got chatting to a man who would have been my age, from the US, who had Parkinson's. And he was an engineer for Rolls-Royce. And we got chatting. We were probably chatting for half an hour. And he said to me that movement has been the best thing. He said, when I got diagnosed, movement has been the thing that um, has kept me going, has kept me, for having had it for 7 years. He was in a great place. He was running the 10 kilometer as well. He was an athlete, did triathlons and things like that before, but he said movement has been the key to his wellness with his Parkinson's. So have a think about that. For all of us who think, oh, I don't want to move, just think about movement as some medicine for keeping us active and keeping us healthy and keeping us aging well as we go forward. So anyway, I was chatting to him, and then I will get to the point of the story about Gloria in a moment. And then I get into the chute. So the chutes are there, and the marathon had 35,000 people running. So they had all run off, and I was having kittens for some of them because it was way past start time, and there's just some people so casual, just running into the lane. Off they go, 15 minutes behind anyone else. And I'm thinking, if you're the last to run and the cutoff time is 7 hours and you've just added another 15 minutes to this, wow, I take my hat off to you. So anyway, we're standing there in the chute, and I was right next to a big screen, and it was the same in Berlin last year. And they showed the last 3 kilometers. I mean, Sydney was in its glory, the harbour bridge, the opera house, the sun shining, the water twinkling, the crowds. It was just unbelievable for a world stage event. And they showed the two winners pacing each other, coming down the last couple of kilometers for the marathon. And you could see it was literally the guy who was in front was pointing to the other guy to run like the straightest line where there's less camber on the road, and really encouraging him to come through. And he did come through and he won. And it always brings tears to my eyes when you see that victory and you're part of something. And it's like that on a hike when we all achieve success, and we all do at the end of our trail or at the summit of our adventure. It is that beautiful sense of achievement together because we did it as a team. Anyway, so after 10 minutes of talking, it's time now for my run. So I'm running along, and it was all downhill to start with, and then I'm running across the harbour bridge, and I took some photos, and I'm running down, and I get to just before the 5 kilometre mark, and I see this lady fall over, and she fell, and she's kind of struggling herself towards the side of the road, and nobody stopped. Nobody was stopping. And so I ran over to her. She couldn't stand up. She was in a lot of pain. And I said to her, "Are you okay?" She goes, "No, I'm not okay. I've severely rolled my ankle." And she was kind of going through a bit of shock. And so this other lady then came up with me, and we sat her down, and we're waving, trying to get, there were lots of volunteers, trying to get volunteers to come, but they couldn't see us. So the other lady said, "Look, you stay here and I'll run off and go get some help." So I sat Gloria down on the side of the road, and Gloria was maybe in her early 20s, and she was quite panicky at this point. She was breathing quite heavily, but quite light at the same time, starting to get a bit panicky. She was wincing in pain with her ankle, and I kind of felt like, out of a TV show. "Now, tell me your name." All of the things that, as Women's Fitness Adventures leaders, we're all trained in remote area first aid, and I had just refreshed my CPR last week. So, not that I had to do that with Gloria, but I sat there with Gloria and I went through all the things that we're trained as leaders to do in terms of emergency response, thinking that you would never need it. So anyway, after a little bit, time is ticking, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's a run going on, and all these thousands and thousands of people are running by. And Gloria says to me, she said, "You need to go and do your run. I'm holding up your run." I said, it is a run. It is not a sheep station. It is not, I'm not going to get a podium. It is not about any of that for me. And anyway, eventually the help came, and I did the handover to Ness, who was the volunteer. And I said, "Ness, you need to get some first aid here for Gloria. This is what's happened. This is the situation, Gloria. Will you be comfortable in Ness's company?" Blah, blah, blah. And they agreed, and they were right. So I went off on my way, and I went around the bend, and the 5 kilometre mark came up. And I thought to myself, not everybody stops, and not everybody, everybody has their own agenda, and many may have been going for a time or to be their very best. But for me, and it comes back, as I said, to the ethos of what Women's Fitness Adventures is all about, is that it didn't matter to me whether I ran 5 minutes faster or 5 minutes slower. I was never going to get a podium. I'd never get a podium. It didn't, for me, it was all about being able to compete and being there, and to being able to support someone who was in need was far more important than whether I could, beat my fictional time by, 1 minute or 5 minutes. So as I'm jogging along, thinking to myself, that is the very essence of what happens inside Women's Fitness Adventures, is that we are all looking out for each other. We will never, as most of you who are members know, we will never leave anyone on the trail, because we are a team. We are all together. We are all about that support, all about that commitment, all about that dedication to each other, whether we've known each other for a few hours or whether we've known each other for several years or over a decade for some of us. But it is uncanny how all of those values sit inside every single member in the Women's Fitness Adventures community. And whether you have joined recently or whether you have been there for a long time, and we say this to our Couch to Mountain people, there's a point when you are on, or for anyone, when you join onto one of our adventures and you're walking on the trail, whether it's a week-long hike or whether it is a 3-hour hike, there's a point that you don't realize where it switches from being about you, because we're all there for our own enjoyment, to being about the team and to being about how everyone succeeds. And you don't know when that point is. You only know when you return at the end of the day that that is exactly what's happened. So as I'm jogging along there, and it's 5 kilometers, and my watch has gone from a great time per minute to per kilometer to quite a disastrous time per kilometer. But I thought, you know what, it actually doesn't matter. I feel good within myself, because when I ran around the bend, I had to look back over and saw Gloria sitting there um, with the first aiders still hadn't arrived at that point, and thought, if I'd run on, I would be just having this nagging thought in my head of, what's happened to that girl? I should have stopped for that girl. I should have stopped for that girl. And when that voice comes in your head saying, I should have done that, from a goodwill, um, and I guess, a values-based, um, belief, is that you did the right thing when you stopped. And so I kind of, for the next couple of long kilometers till I got to the hill, had this real buzz inside me that, um, I hadn't I hadn't done it for my own good. I had done it, um, for Gloria, because I would like to think that if the same thing had happened to me, that someone would come and support me. I would like to think, well, that's why I started Women's Fitness Adventures, that if I was doing something for the first time or the 100th time out on the trail or out in the wild, that there would be other people out there just like me who would be keen to support each other and make sure that everyone was successful as well. Let me check in with Kerry. Hello, Colleen. Hello, Karen. Um, Gil says, I run, but kindness is the winner, not the time when you cross the line. Thank you for stopping. Yeah, absolutely. And um, and some people may have been gunning for a time, and that's their thing, or they may have seen me there, stop with her and went, well, they may not have seen her at all, but having that awareness, having that perception. And I will always also stop for people on the trail as well, people who, not that I will gather up every little lost soul along the way. Certainly our our group is most important, but if someone has lost their way, or someone is injured, or someone is confused or dazed on the trail, it is the thing to do is to stop. So as I ran on my merry way, I was like, yeah, this is good. And then some hills came, and I'll finish the story of the run completely for you. And then I I'm fit. I'm quite fit, but running up hills, it got to the 8 kilometer mark, and I went, oh, I reckon as a hiker, I can hike faster. I can walk faster up this hill than I can run. So I did, and then I got to the very end, and I was quite pleased with myself, and still finished within a reasonable time, but had such an amazing story to share, because it was a run like no other, where I got to do a wonderful thing for someone who really needed my help and support. And Gloria will be forever etched in my mind now as my memory of the Sydney run. So that goes to the very heart, though, of what we do at Women's Fitness Adventures, is that we really do look out and support each other, and we equip everyone with the skills, and all of you who most of you who are watching are members, all of you with the skills that you need, so that you can do the same thing on the trail for anyone else out there. And as we travel the world, and we travel close to home and far away, uh, there is always one of those acts of kindness, or acts of stopping or supporting someone, that happens all the time, from whether it's us or whether it's from others, just helping someone with directions or where to go, or just having a friendly chat on an aeroplane. And I know that's how a couple of ladies became our members, just saw us at different airports and things like that. So it is all about the trail. It is all about the connection, but it is all about the support for each other as well. And I don't want any of our members to ever forget that, because um, I think if we start forgetting that, then we could just be any other organization. We could just book onto any other thing, and not feel part of something that is much bigger and brighter and more connected than that. So that is my Sydney 10 kilometre story from the weekend. I got back this afternoon. But I do want to give out today a big shout out to thank you, Ellen. Congratulations. Everything about your run is fabulous. Leading by an example is a wonderful habit to form. Yeah, I actually did feel pretty good about it, Ellen. And I think today I could probably say my sore legs are not fabulous because I haven't really strung together 10K at that pace for a little while. They are hurting a little bit, and because I was on a plane around lunchtime, and they don't give you much to eat on an aeroplane, I was a bit cranky pants this afternoon, not having had any lunch till no groceries at home till about 3:30. So it was quite a big day without food, so I did get a bit cranky. But just being around, as I said, being around the people, the environments that you aspire to be in, whether you are a full participant at that point in time, or you're kind of stepping back a little because not by design, but by default, because there's some other, aspect of injury or illness or situation where you can't be, fully all in, but making sure that you are tethered or connected to it will keep you going and keep you swimming in that direction. Think of it like you know, like a boat with a whole lot of tentacles out the back, and we're still hanging on, we're still connected, because that's ultimately where we want to rein ourselves into. Because otherwise, if you let yourself free, you may never get back to where you want to be, which is where you just were. Lots of things there. But I do want to give a big shout out to, and hello, Sue, to our team who are heading off, a small but mighty team are heading off to the Pyrenees. Our Trek the Pyrenees adventure, which we did 2 years ago, starts again this week. It is a small group because we have to have either 7 or 14. So we go with 7, but we're actually going with 6 because someone did have to pull out for injury. And I hope that she knows who she is, that she's on the mend and getting there slowly, but still connected to us, of course. But it is one of my favorite hikes. Someone asked me that on the weekend, where was one of my favorite hikes? And for me, it's anywhere where I don't have internet connection. And I know that's easy to say. You can just say, switch off your phone, but it's not easy to say when you run your own business. But the trail is, it really puts into perspective the importance of what you do in your life and who you are, because you are surrounded by these very big, not high altitude, but just very big mountains, that are not overly inhabited, that have trails that crisscross them, trails with history. Part of the trail is the World War II escape route from France into Spain, so it crisscrosses the French and Spanish border. So there's stories to tell on every trail, and there are, Julie Andrews moments on every turn, and there is triumph at the top of every hill. And I know that the ladies who are going, Jane heads off tonight, and the other team, having there'll be some internet, we'll get some pictures coming through, but just having space to be themselves, having space to walk into the next version of themselves, who they walk into over the next 10 days will be a different person to who they leave home from today. And you can say that about any trail. You can say that about any event. Who I was yesterday morning was very different to who I ended up with yesterday afternoon as well. So big shout out to the team there. There are going to be some wonderful stories and some wonderful adventures that we will hear about from them, and some great photos too. So that's about it from me this week. I do encourage you, and Lynn says, hope the Pyrenees happens again. Well, the thing is that we have all these amazing contacts all over the world of guides and adventure partners, and they keep presenting us with all these new adventures as well. So if the thing is, if you see an adventure that you like, and I know, Lynn, you're off to our UK adventure, if you see an adventure you like, and this is what coming full circle, actually, good point, Lynn, to the start of my run, where I met the gentleman from the US with Parkinson's, and he said becoming unwell with Parkinson's changed my entire perspective on life. He said there was more to life than work. There is more in my life that I need to do. I need to do things for the moment, while I can, when I can, and because I can. And he was just such an inspiration to talk to. He was so lovely. So, if you see something, whether that is with us, whether that is something in any other aspect of your life, embrace it, do it while you can. The moments are short, the moments are really fleeting. And, switch off from the news. Don't watch the news. I haven't watched it for months, and it's really so enlightening. So if there is something that you like, just jump onto it, because it's a big wide world to explore, and we may or may not get back to that location. So if you are watching and you're not a member, and want to be, or want to come on one of our adventures, then have a look, jump on, and go from there. And if you have any questions, or anyone has any comments or anything they want to share about their experiences on the trail and supporting others, then please drop in the comments below. And if you want to continue the conversation, you can just email me, info@womensfitnessadventures.com, or just, jump on and send a message and I'll reply to you. So that's it from me for this week. It is the beginning of September. Spring is in the air for us in the Southern Hemisphere. So lots of new things coming our way. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll look forward to catching up with you next week. See you then. Bye.